In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, where the stars themselves seem dimmed by the darkness that surrounds them, lies humanity's last bastion. It is a fortress world, a desolate, scarred planet encircled by a broken, battered fleet. These are the remnants of a once mighty empire, the final survivors of a war that spanned 1,000 systems. The ships that float here are old and weary, their hulls pockmarked by plasma scars, their engines held together with whatever scraps could be salvaged from the graveyards of battles long lost. Yet, they remain, standing defiant against the black void. At the heart of this beleaguered defense is the flagship Resolute. It is no longer the gleaming pride of the fleet, but a symbol of endurance. Its bridge is quiet, the air heavy with the knowledge of what is to come. The crew works in silence, their faces etched with the hard lines of experience, their eyes flicking to the center of the room where the Admiral stands. She is a figure of calm amidst the chaos, a woman hardened by the trials of countless battles. Her uniform is worn, its colors faded, yet her presence commands respect. Every line on her face tells a story of sacrifice, every scar a testament to her resolve. The Admiral steps forward, staring out through the viewport into the void. There, on the horizon of space, the alien coalition assembles. It is an alliance of fear, a fear of what humanity once was and what it could still become. Dozens of alien species, their ships a patchwork of different technologies, form a vast armada that blots out the stars. They've come here for one reason: to finish what they started. To erase humanity from the galaxy once and for all. Her gaze is unyielding as she studies the enemy fleet. This is the moment she's been preparing for, the culmination of a campaign that has seen her lose everything but the fight itself. Around her, the crew waits for her to speak, their breath held as though they can feel the weight of the moment. Taking a deep breath, she steps up to the communications console and opens a channel to the fleet. Her voice is broadcast not only to her own ships but across the galaxy, to anyone still listening. It is a message for the living, the dying, and the enemies who surround them. Citizens of humanity, she begins, her tone calm yet carrying a steely edge. Today, we face the end. Not just of our fleet or our people, but of an era. The galaxy has united against us, not because we were weak, but because they feared what we could become. They feared our potential, our drive, our refusal to be subjugated. The silence on the bridge is deafening, the crew hanging on her every word. They've heard her speeches before, but this one is different. It's not a call to arms, it's something deeper, a declaration of what it means to be human. We may be outnumbered, and our ships may be old, but our spirit remains unbroken, she continues. We will not surrender. We will not bow. Today we make our stand. And if this is our end, we will make it a tale that the stars will remember. Her words ripple across the fleet, reaching every corner of the dying ships. Faces harden with resolve, eyes narrow with determination. Even those who have doubted their survival feel a flicker of something they thought long lost. Hope. It's not the hope of victory, but the hope of a meaningful stand, a final act of defiance against an uncaring universe. The Admiral's speech reverberates through the darkness, a raw, unfiltered truth that cuts through the fear like a blade. This isn't a call for victory, it's a statement of dignity, a promise that humanity's spirit will not be extinguished without a fight. In the distance, the alien coalition begins to advance, their ships forming a wall of metal and light, encircling the last human stronghold like vultures preparing to descend upon a dying prey. The tension is thick, a palpable energy that thrums through the air. The Admiral turns to her crew, meeting the eyes of each person on the bridge. There is no need for more words. They all understand what this means. They know that this battle is likely their last. And yet, there is no fear left, only a fierce determination. Stations, she commands quietly, and the crew springs into action. Consoles light up, tactical screens flicker to life, and the hum of the ship's engines fills the bridge. The Resolute prepares to face its final challenge. The camera of the faceless narrator zooms out, giving a sweeping view of the human fleet, scarred, broken, but resolute. It is a sight to behold. A patchwork of ships, large and small, lined up for one final stand. A fleet that, despite its losses, embodies the stubbornness and tenacity of the human race. The alien coalition's armada looms closer, a mass of ships that stretches across the stars. They have the numbers, the firepower, and the confidence that this will be an easy victory. But as the Admiral's final words echo across the galaxy, there is a moment of hesitation, a brief flicker of doubt in the minds of the alien commanders. They came expecting to crush a broken people, but what they see before them is a wall of steel and fire, held together by nothing more than the will of a species that refuses to die. May the stars remember this day, the Admiral whispers, her voice carrying the weight of her people's history, their struggles, their dreams. And so begins the last stand of humanity. The Admiral's voice fades, her message of defiance carried across the galaxy on encrypted channels, a beacon of hope shining in the darkness. For a moment, there is nothing but silence, a pregnant pause before the inevitable storm. The bridge of the Resolute is tense, the crew standing still, waiting for the response they're almost certain won't come. After all, who would answer such a call when the outcome is all but certain? The vast alien armada looms before them, a wall of metal and malice prepared to wipe out the last traces of humanity. And then, something miraculous begins to happen. From the furthest edges of known space, small flashes of light begin to punctuate the void, ships dropping out of hyperspace, appearing one by one like the first stars of twilight. The crew watches in stunned disbelief as the shapes materialize on the sensors. These are not warships, but old cargo haulers, colony transports, even retrofitted civilian yachts, vessels that should have been left behind, yet here they are. Each one bears the scars of its own struggles, its hull patched and jury-rigged, engines sputtering as if held together by sheer willpower. On the main view screen, the Admiral sees a ship she recognizes, a small, dilapidated freighter called the Starlight Hope. Its captain is an old friend, a retired war veteran who once served under her command. The ship is barely held together, its hull charred from skirmishes and asteroid impacts, yet it flies with a stubborn pride. The Admiral's lips curve into a rare, grim smile. They came. The crew erupts into murmurs of disbelief as more ships arrive. An ancient merchant vessel that looks like it should be in a museum, followed by a convoy of refugee transports, their passengers hastily armed with makeshift weapons. The Admiral steps forward, her eyes flicking to the communications console. It's time to acknowledge the allies who have chosen to stand with them in this final hour. She opens a channel, broadcasting to the entire ragtag fleet. Her voice is steady, laced with both gratitude and resolve. To the captains who have answered the call, she begins, her tone softer but no less firm than before, "You know as well as I do that this battle may be our last. You came here not because you believed we could win, but because you couldn't stand by and watch the end of our kind without a fight." The view screen flickers, showing the faces of different captains as they respond, one after another. There's the retired war veteran, his face lined with age but his eyes sharp as ever, giving a curt nod. Next, a young merchant captain appears, barely out of her teens, looking both terrified and fiercely determined. She grips the console in front of her as if it's the only thing anchoring her. The camera cuts to a refugee leader, a woman who once commanded a peaceful colony ship, now armed to the teeth with anything they could salvage. "We've lost homes, friends, entire worlds," the Admiral continues, meeting the gaze of each captain as though she can see into their very souls. "But we are still here. And as long as we draw breath, humanity is not finished. You came here today because you believe that even in the face of certain death, there is a fight worth fighting. And for that, I thank you. Together, we will make this stand count." The response is immediate, a wave of acknowledgments flooding the comms. The captains speak one after another, their voices filled with a raw, shared emotion that reverberates through the void. "We're with you, Admiral," says the veteran, his voice gruff but filled with respect. To the end, the young merchant captain nods, her fear giving way to a fierce grin. "Let's show them what humanity's made of." The refugee leader's voice trembles, but there's a steel edge to her words. "For our families. For the ones we lost." As the fleet assembles, the camera of the faceless narrator sweeps across the motley array of ships. Each one is unique, a testament to the diverse backgrounds and stories that make up humanity. A bulk freighter, its hull covered in makeshift plating, aligns itself next to a sleek private yacht with a laser cannon welded onto its frame. Colony ships form a line alongside outdated military frigates, their shields flickering unsteadily but holding firm. It is a sight unlike any other, a fleet forged not from might, but from the stubborn will to survive and the unbreakable bond of a shared legacy. The Admiral watches as her fleet grows, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and sorrow. She knows what this means, that they are all prepared to die here, to make their last stand. But it's more than just a defense of their last stronghold. This is a statement, a declaration of what humanity represents. It's not about winning, it's about refusing to go quietly into the night. The alien coalition pauses, their advance momentarily halted as they observe the unexpected reinforcements. To them, it's an absurd sight. A fleet of mismatched, broken-down ships standing against their perfect, unified armada. The alien commanders can't understand it. Why would these humans come here to face certain destruction? Why would they throw their lives away for a battle they cannot possibly win? But the answer is simple, and it echoes in the hearts of every human who is gathered here today. Because this fight is about more than survival. It's about defiance. It's about proving that even on the edge of extinction, humanity will not bow. Not to fear. Not to tyranny. Not to fate. Form up, the Admiral orders, her voice carrying the weight of the entire fleet. Prepare for battle. The ships move into position, forming a wall of metal and firepower, as if daring the alien coalition to come closer. It's a patchwork defense, but it's held together by something stronger than steel: hope, defiance, and the unyielding spirit of a species that refuses to be erased. And with that, the stage is set. The final battle looms, but for the first time, the humans are not facing it alone. The silence shatters in an instant. The alien coalition surges forward, a coordinated wave of destruction that crashes against the human defenders like a monstrous tide. The void of space erupts in a cacophony of explosions and laser fire, the darkness lit up by the flash of dying ships. The Admiral's fleet, a mismatched assembly of battered vessels, braces itself for the onslaught. They are outnumbered and outgunned, facing an armada that seems endless. But they have something the enemy does not: the iron will of a species pushed to the edge of extinction. On the bridge of her flagship, the Resolute, the Admiral stands at the center of the chaos, her expression calm and unreadable. She watches the battle unfold, her mind working faster than any computer, calculating, adapting. To an outsider, the scene would look like madness: ships spinning and weaving through the void, debris scattering like shrapnel. But to the Admiral, it is a dance, a deadly waltz she orchestrates with flawless precision. The alien fleet pushes forward, their formation tightening as they attempt to encircle the human ships. It's a classic maneuver, one that's worked against countless enemies before. But the Admiral sees it for what it is: arrogance. They think this will be easy. They believe they've already won. They're underestimating us, she mutters, her eyes narrowing. Her voice cuts through the noise, clear and sharp. All ships execute pattern Delta. Now, her fleet responds in perfect synchrony, a testament to the trust they place in her leadership. The formation splits, ships diving into the debris field left behind by the initial clash. It's a risky maneuver, but it's exactly what the Admiral intended. The alien coalition hesitates, momentarily confused by the sudden break in formation. And in war, hesitation is death. Fire on my mark, the Admiral commands. Her voice is steady, carrying the calm of someone who's been through this 1,000 times. Mark. A barrage of laser fire erupts from the hidden human ships, catching the alien vessels off guard. They fire blindly into the debris, but it's too late. Several of their lead ships explode in a brilliant flash, the shockwaves ripping through their tightly packed formation. The Admiral's crew cheers, but she remains focused, her eyes scanning the battlefield for the next opportunity. The camera of the faceless narrator shifts focus, capturing the chaos of the battle from different perspectives. We see a cargo hauler turned gunship, its hull scarred and burning, as it rams into an alien cruiser, sacrificing itself to create an opening in the enemy line. A colony ship, makeshift cannons strapped to its sides, unleashes a desperate volley of missiles before it's engulfed in a fireball. Every ship, every crew member fights like there's nothing left to lose, because there isn't. In the center of it all, the Resolute becomes a beacon, a rallying point for the human forces. The Admiral's commands come swiftly, each one a calculated strike designed to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. She uses the wreckage of destroyed ships as cover, turning the battlefield into a deadly maze. Alien fighters dart through the debris, only to be ambushed by human pilots lying in wait. "Admiral, we're losing too many ships," shouts her tactical officer, his voice tinged with fear. The casualties are mounting, and the odds are growing worse with every passing second. But the Admiral doesn't flinch. "Steady," she replies, her voice a soothing balm to the panicked crew. "Remember why we're here. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who couldn't be here, for every life lost to their brutality. Hold the line." The camera zooms in on her face, capturing the calm determination in her eyes, the set of her jaw. She knows what must be done, even if it means making impossible choices. She issues a new order. Several ships in the fleet, those too damaged to continue fighting effectively, are to engage in a kamikaze run against the largest alien dreadnought, a behemoth that has been tearing through their ranks. There's a moment of stunned silence among the captains. These ships are filled with friends, comrades who know they're being sent to certain death. But there is no hesitation. The order is acknowledged, and the doomed ships accelerate, engines flaring bright as they streak towards the dreadnought. The alien commanders don't realize what's happening until it's too late. The human ships collide with the dreadnought in a series of devastating explosions, ripping through its shields and armor. The massive vessel shudders, then splits apart in a blinding burst of light. The shockwave rocks the battlefield, sending both human and alien ships spinning out of control. The cost is horrific, but the effect is immediate. The alien formation breaks, their advance faltering. "Now's our chance," the Admiral says, her voice filled with a cold, hard edge. "All ships charge." It's a desperate maneuver, a final, suicidal counterattack. The human fleet surges forward, the smaller vessels darting through the gaps left by the destroyed dreadnought. They tear into the alien lines, weapons blazing, no longer caring about survival. It's no longer a battle for victory, it's a battle for the right to be remembered. The alien coalition reels, their morale shattered by the ferocity of the human assault. They expected fear, submission, but instead, they're met with rage, with a defiance that cannot be measured in numbers or firepower. The camera pans across the battlefield, capturing the raw emotion of the fight. A mother and son on a refugee ship, tears streaming down their faces as they fire their last missile. A veteran pilot laughing as he takes down an enemy fighter, even as his own ship spirals into flames. In the center of it all, the Admiral stands unyielding, her gaze locked on the enemy flagship. She knows they're close, that this is their moment. If they can just hold on a little longer. "Give them everything we've got," she commands, her voice filled with a fierce, almost serene resolve. "For humanity." And with that, the tide begins to turn. The battle rages on, a storm of fire and fury. Alien ships swarm the remnants of the human fleet, but their attacks are no longer as coordinated. The relentless human resistance has frayed their discipline, sown doubt in their ranks. Yet, despite the small cracks in the enemy's resolve, the cost has been immense. The human ships, now barely holding together, are pushed to their limits. The Resolute, the Admiral's flagship, shudders under the relentless barrage, flames licking the shattered bridge as emergency alarms blare. The Admiral stands amidst the chaos, smoke swirling around her, a grim figure against the flickering lights of her dying ship. She takes a moment to survey the battlefield, what remains of it. Her fleet has done the impossible. They've held back the alien coalition far longer than anyone thought possible. They've given the galaxy a message it cannot ignore. Humanity will not go quietly into the night. But she knows the end has come. Their strength is spent, and the last of their ammunition is gone. "Admiral, the hull won't hold much longer," her first officer shouts, his voice cracking with panic. The admiral meets his gaze, her expression calm, almost serene. "Order the fleet to retreat," she says quietly. "Save as many as we can. Get them out of here." There's a moment of hesitation, a brief flicker of disbelief. Retreat? After everything they've sacrificed? But then he sees the look in her eyes and understands. This isn't surrender. It's the final act of a leader who knows her duty, who will ensure the survival of her people, even if it means her own end. "Understood," he whispers, his voice choked with emotion. He salutes, tears shining in his eyes, before turning to relay the order. The remaining ships begin to pull back, engines flaring as they break away from the battle. Escape pods launch from the Resolute, filled with crew members who look back in sorrow, knowing their admiral will not be joining them. The camera pans to the bridge, now eerily quiet. Only the admiral remains, standing at the helm like a captain going down with her ship. She sets a new course, her gaze fixed on the heart of the alien formation, their flagship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons. Her lips press into a thin line as she inputs the coordinates for a collision course. The ship's AI pings, confirming the autopilot sequence. It's a suicide run, a final strike against the enemy. The admiral knows it won't destroy the entire fleet, but it might be enough to shatter their morale, to leave a mark they'll never forget. "All remaining channels, open broadcast," she commands. The transmission icon blinks to life. She takes a deep breath, her voice steady and clear as it echoes across the galaxy. "To all who can hear me," she begins, her voice carrying a weight of finality and quiet pride. "This is the last stand of humanity. We may fall today, but know this: we did not surrender. We did not give in. We fought for every breath, for every life that came before us. Remember us." Her words are simple, but they cut through the noise of the battle, resonating with everyone listening. For a brief moment, time seems to stand still. The alien commanders, watching the broadcast, falter. They see the defiant fire in her eyes and feel the weight of what they've tried, and failed, to crush. The Resolute surges forward, engines burning at full thrust, aimed directly at the enemy flagship. The alien crew scrambles to react, but it's too late. The human ship slams into the alien vessel in a blinding explosion, the shockwave rippling across the battlefield. The enemy flagship is crippled, debris scattering in all directions. From the escape pods and retreating ships, the surviving crew watches in silence, tears streaming down their faces. They see the fiery end of their leader, the woman who became the embodiment of humanity's unyielding spirit. There is no cheering, no shouts of triumph, only a deep, profound sorrow mixed with awe. The alien coalition, stunned and demoralized, begins to retreat. They came expecting an easy victory, a final extermination of a broken species. Instead, they've faced the kind of defiance that legends are made of. They've faced humanity. As the alien ships pull back, the remaining human vessels gather in formation. The camera captures a wide shot, a small, battered fleet floating in the silence of space, a ghostly remnant of a once great civilization. They hover there for a moment, a solemn tribute to the fallen admiral. Then, one by one, the captains salute, their ship's lights flashing in a pattern of respect. A lone voice breaks the silence, broadcasting across the galaxy one final time. "The Last Admiral," it says softly. "She stood when no one else could. She fought when everyone else fled. And she will be remembered." The scene fades out with the fleet moving away, a distant starfield in the background. But the legend of the Admiral remains, a spark of hope that will light the way for future generations, a symbol of humanity's unbreakable will. Closes the story with an emotional and powerful climax, highlighting the Admiral's sacrifice and the unexpected impact it has on both the alien coalition and the survivors. The visuals and narrative emphasize the bittersweet nature of the victory, making it a memorable and poignant ending for the audience.